The Department of Justice announced 2 Chinese men have been charged with selling tons of fentanyl and other narcotics that were then sold in the U.S. This is the latest development in authorities' efforts in eliminating these powerful drugs that are driving up the overdose rate. RT's Trinity Chavez takes a closer look at how the recent surge in overdoses is crippling New York communities.
The use of fentanyl is especially prominent in Staten Island and in the South Bronx, but it is crippling communities all throughout New York because of a dramatic spike in overdose deaths in recent years.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere that heroin is. There are opiate addicts all over New York, the suburbs, and really all over the United States. It's not an urban problem anymore. It's everywhere. So wherever opiate addicts are, we see fentanyl.
It's a synthetic painkiller originally used to help dying cancer patients, which can be 50 to 100 times more powerful than heroin. And the drug is sweeping New York City streets. Special Agent James Hunt, who is in charge of the DEA's New York division, says the drug is driving a surge in overdose deaths. Just last month, his agency, along with the NYPD, announced that as a result of 2 investigations, authorities seized 270 pounds of fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine with a street value of over $30 million. Over 140 pounds of that was fentanyl.
Traffickers now realize they can make more money with fentanyl alone than with heroin. So they've gone to precedent to pills to resemble Oxycontin or Percocet to fool the users, thinking you're getting something that's made in a real, pharma lab. So it's kind of evolved in the last year or two from going just as like an additive or a cut to heroin to being sold on its own.
To put into perspective exactly how dangerous this drug is, if you take a look at this sugar packet, if it were filled with fentanyl, that would be enough to cause 140 overdoses.
And the number of overdose deaths continues to increase. According to the New York Department of Health, in 2016, more Bronx residents died of drug overdoses in 2016 than any other New York City borough. 308 people lost their lives. That's more than double the number in 2010, which was 128. Fatal overdoses in the borough are now at their highest rates since at least 2000, and officials are attributing much of that rise to fentanyl.
The recent rash of overdose deaths, most of them are attributed to either heroin laced with fentanyl or fentanyl on its own being sold in a pill form or just sold on its own as fentanyl.
Last year, there was 1,374 drug overdose deaths, 437 more than the previous year. This marked the 6th consecutive year that overdose deaths have increased, and the problem goes far beyond the city borders of New York. The Centers of Disease Control estimates that more than 20,000 American citizens lost their lives in 2016 due to fentanyl, and that number is rising at a dramatic rate.
More and more of our citizens are being killed by fentanyl. Fentanyl and fentanyl analogs are coming into the country in numerous ways, including shipments from factories in China directly to U.S. customers who make those purchases over the internet.
U.S. authorities are urging drug addicts to seek help immediately because oftentimes the user doesn't know exactly how deadly fentanyl could be. Reporting in New York, Trinity Chavez, RT.